So this is it, the final round of the 2016 FF1M season, and it's a brand new venue, Macau, the legendary street circuit of Gia, round 19, and joined with me, I suspect, is a rather nervous Tobias Wolff.
Hello there.
Because Lewis Hamilton and your main driver Sergio Perez are battling for the championship, the gap just 5 points between the two.
Yes, I am really surprised it has got to this stage. I fully didn't expect it to go down to the wire with how Lewis was so far ahead with like just 2 or 3 races ago, and you know what, whatever the outcome, I'm just grateful that it's come to this, and we've got a championship finale on our hands.
And we'll just do a quick recap of Bahrain as well, which saw Perez win as part of a Tornado 1-2, but we did have Alonso retire with a puncture, and a shame for him, he was leading for all of the race. And not to mention as well a first lap incident triggered by third place Antonio Felix da Costa having drunk quite a lot of caffeine from his own branded coffee, then turned into Billy Big Bollocks and slammed into Magnussen at the first corner. I just wanted to get that bit out of the way.
Nothing but biased about that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Alonso was hugely unlucky to retire in that race. He fully deserved that win, and but that's just how it goes in FF1M. I mean, like the race before that, it really should have been a 1-2 for my team, but both had problems, and that's, you win some you don't deserve, and you lose others you did deserve.
And he's on pole position, and that's a record-breaking 34th career pole, alongside him championship leader Lewis Hamilton. Row 2 filled by our top drivers Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez. We'll get onto permutations in a moment, but for now, Cooper Lee 5th, Väinö Kymmänen 6th on the grid, and second podium in 3 races. Good debut for the Finn. There's old Billy on the left, Antonio Felix da Costa, and alongside Nico Hülkenberg. And then completing the top 10, Sam Bird out-qualifying Rosberg with Daniel Ricciardo 10th, and if you'd like to complete the grid.
Okay, yeah, alright. Grosjean, Rosberg, row 6, and I'm going to miss hearing you roast Da Costa from for next season, since he doesn't have a drive. Allmeister, 7th row, and it's their last race, let's not forget.
Absolutely.
And followed by an all GRM row 8, and first of the Gojira is John-Eric Verne, and the first of the Shake and Bakes, Sebastian Vettel, Nolan Bryant, Stoffel Van Dorn, neither of which have had any points so far this season.
Yeah, poor Van Dorn having a miserable season, but at least he gets another chance. And then the back row.
Yeah, Max Verstappen, of course, and James Clark, who will be joining AJ next season.
Alongside, ironically, the driver he replaced, Robert Kubica. So that should be an interesting lineup, how those two go along.
Here we go.
Alonso on the left and Hamilton on the right. So on go the 5 lights, and then the usual pause before the 5 lights go out. And who gets away best from pole position? And it's a very long run down to the first braking zone at Lisboa, and it's
Oi!
Lewis Hamilton taking the lead from Fernando Alonso. Perez up to 3rd, past Magnussen, but there's still more straight to go.
Alonso's going to try and fight back, and Checo's right on his gearbox as well. This is going to be, oh my god, this is going to be really sketchy, whatever happens here.
What's going to happen into Lisboa? Ben Alonso, Hamilton, oh my goodness me!
Whoa! And Perez on the inside, but he hasn't got past Lewis. I'm really surprised by that. I thought he had the inside and he was going to get past, but that was, well, I knew it was going to be sketchy, but yeah, already contact, but crucially no damage, it seems, to any of the front runners.
And as they go through the Pile corner before the police bend, in fact this is the Pile S's. I've written down a map and I'm just trying to memorise the middle sector, because it's kind of like Baku in a way, is Macau. Long, wide, flat out section, followed by the twisty, narrow bits.
Yeah, I must say I don't have the best of knowledge for this circuit, so to me it's really an unknown. But what I can definitely tell is boy, is it a narrow circuit.
Yeah, this hairpin in particular, the Melco hairpin, very infamous and notorious, even tighter than Lowe's hairpin in Monaco.
Yeah, it makes it makes that Lowe's hairpin look quite flowing, doesn't it?
Absolutely, but now they're onto the wide bits as they approach the final corner, which is called R Bend, and then onto the start-finish straight. It is Fernando Alonso who leads, and still looking for his 1,000th point in FF1M. He's on 998, but he has got the pole record now off of Nico Rosberg, who looks to be ending his FF1M career on a bit of a subdued note.
Certainly not the bang he had in mind, like another universe we know of.
But at least he'll exit FF1M as a world champion, and not many drivers can boast that fact. So it's been a career for Nico Rosberg, quite a good one.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to be missed, is Rosberg, and I'd be lying if I said that he has pulled out at the right time. I think he had several good seasons still in him. But anyway, here, Lewis looks like he's got closer to Alonso on the in this technical section so far.
As we exit Moorish Hill Bend and into the Donna Maria left-hand hairpin, quite cambered, so you can carry the speed through here, and the Melco hairpin next, which in real life is perma-yellow flagged, no overtaking allowed at all.
Something that we should know, and I don't think we've said yet, or I might have missed it, but another split strategy race. Oh, Alonso's gone wide there.
Whoa, that was way wide, and here comes Hamilton to take the lead, but here comes Perez as well.
Look at Checo though. Oh.
Championship battle up right there, Hamilton versus Perez.
Oh my God, no.
He is terrified, is Tobias, and lap 3, and it's Magnussen who sets the fastest lap of the race, probably due to the squabbling trio in front, and, well, he's choosing the outside is Perez, but he's going to have to back out.
He's gone the wrong side there, and that's slowed his momentum down, and he's not as close to Hamilton now to use the slipstream to defend from Alonso, and
Hamilton was defending a bit going into Lisboa.
It's as you are there, but mistake from Alonso allowing the two championship contenders through, but I must say that I think we're going to get a replay here,
So into Fisherman's Bend.
These cars this year are so sturdy with the barriers. I'm sure, like a lot of other seasons, that would have been a DNF for Alonso right there and then.
Yeah, in any other series that would have been a DNF, but the suspension taking it well, but Hamilton's starting to pull away a bit from Sergio Perez, race leader, as Alonso still on the back of the Mexican driver.
That's not the greatest of laps for Checo, and he's slipping into the clutches of Alonso, and Alonso's going to pull past, and
that's going in through Mandarin Bend into Lisboa, which narrows quite dramatically in the exit.
Oh no!
Shit! Sergio Perez lost in his front wing there. Well, oof.
Well, that's that. That's gone. Not to be. I got to see a replay of this before making judgment.
Let's have a look going into Lisboa. Was the contact, or was it just a bit on the marbles? I think it was just the marbles.
You know what? I think Checo should have got out of that.
Potentially, yes, and he's going to have to wait until the whole field go by. But at least he's kept it going, but he's down in last. So doesn't matter. It's done. He's not going to. I can't see him even scoring points from there, and Hamilton has to basically retire now to have any chance. That is gutting. I'm gutted that it's been decided so early on. I'm gutted for you, but you've got the team's championship, which is still, you've successfully defended a team's championship for the first time this season. So there's that consolation. And I'm sure you'll have a strong season next season with Grosjean and Kinnunen at the wheel. So that should be a good lineup.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said at the beginning of this race, I'm just kind of glad. I'm kind of grateful that it got to this stage really, even if it has gone dramatically wrong already, and at least Checo stayed in the hunt for as long as he could, but I think he tried a bit too hard to maintain position there. He was on the outside. He was fighting a losing battle there.
A losing battle, but yes,
that's my honest opinion. I mean, I could rant and rage about how Alonso, forced him out, but I've seen way more malicious collisions in my time of watching Grand Prix 4 races.
Yeah, it just seemed one of those racing incidents. Unfortunate, but do you want me to cheer you up? Do you want me to try and cheer you up a little bit more?
If you like.
Okay, so I put in a request to edit my livery a little bit to put a message saying 02.06 and a little bit of history. So the actual team name FJR stands for Formula James Racing, which sounds a bit cringy, but it was to do with an old username that I had called Formula James when FF1M started on an old forum. But from the 2nd of June this year, actually, FJR will become Father James Racing.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much. We'll have a little mascot for FJR.
Bloody hell. Good luck.
So I'll be joining Mitchell in fatherhood. As through the Malco hairpin goes Lewis Hamilton, probable world champion, but who knows, there could still be some utter chaos. If Hamilton retires and all the other drivers retire aside from Perez, then he's back in the championship.
I reckon we're watching Hamilton just go round and round here just to sort of keep us on our toes as to is he going to go off at any random corner or is he going to blow up or something? I know you, AJ. I know how you like to edit these things.
Well, he's pulling out a lead over Fernando Alonso. It's 8.4 seconds, and we're having a look at Jean-Eric Vergne versus Stoffel Vandoorne in the battle for 16th place. Willow's last race with Ilmor Engines as a manufacturer team, and so far the 16th and 21st. And here comes Jean-Eric Vergne trying to do something about Vandoorne. Ooh, nearly
went through the barrier.
Through the barrier at Lisboa, up San Francisco Hill, and then back to Lewis Hamilton as he approaches
pit stop.
Fisherman's Bend, and he is due in the pits. So I think this is a 3-stop strategy he's running, because I think they're mixed strategies once again, 2 or 3.
Yeah, this is for sure a 3-stop strategy. I think Checo was on a 3-stop as well. I think he was on a similar amount of fuel. And you know what? Looking at how Alonso was getting past, how he was hassling Perez before he made that mistake, and Hamilton has pulled a long way from Alonso now, and I don't think Checo would have had the pace anyway, to be honest. I think the only slight realistic way, any sort of realistic way of Checo somehow still winning this championship is if, Hamilton obviously doesn't score points, and he's alongside with Grosjean here. This could be interesting. Obviously, we've had one ex-elite on the inside of another championship contender that's resulted in badly, but Grosjean seems to back out of it.
It does indeed. So Hamilton rejoining in 9th, and is that Hulkenberg coming into the pits? Indeed it is. So Hulkenberg in an Andrews sandwich now makes a pit stop, and probably also on a 3-stop strategy. I think Alonso might be 2-stopping, because at the start of the race, before the lights went out, I noticed he had 20 laps of fuel on board, and obviously you don't run it completely dry, so maybe Alonso is 2-stopping in this race.
Yeah, and that could explain why he's dropped off Hamilton quite a fair bit.
And speaking of which, he's right behind Ricciardo here.
Which would make at least the battle for the race win more interesting, I think. If Alonso's also on a 3-stop, then this is Lewis's race to lose, not just championship.
Absolutely, yes. And a little bit of Macau history, actually. So The support series of FF1M have raced here quite a few times, and race winners, there's 3 of them in the field at the moment, and they include Väinö Kimminen, currently in 4th place, and there's James Clark, currently in 17th, and Sam Bird twice for 2 different categories. He was an FF2M Asia winner and an FGT3 Championship winner.
Oh, yeah.
So Sam Bird, the joint most successful driver at Macau in the field, and he's currently in 5th. That's not bad.
Well, we know what happened in Malaysia just a few races ago, and how he pulled that one out of nowhere.
Absolutely, yeah, and helping Pedersen in the battle for 4th in the championship. Looks like between Andrew and Pedersen, but Exelite an outside shot for 4th, so that's quite a good battle, yet to be resolved.
I can't remember exactly how much those 3 teams were on points, but I know that Exelite were within range, but they were a few points back. I wouldn't rule them out in this one.
Yeah, they're only 6 points behind both Andrew and Pedersen, but Pedersen ahead on countback because they've got 2 wins to Andrew's 1.
Yeah, you know what? I set my ERS quite low this race, and I going into this race, as we go back on board with Checo here, I'm not really going to be that bothered if he collides with this Willows he's battling with, but he's trying it around the outside there, and it's going to be a drag race, although I think that's Verstappen who's going to, or maybe not. Perez
versus Verstappen for 20th, and it's the fight back begins for Sergio Perez.
I was saying that I feared to myself going into this race that I set my ERS too low. I went with just 30% because I wanted to prioritise the car setup, and I think I underestimated the long straights. And obviously, if I had my ERS turned up higher, then chances are Perez wouldn't have been so exposed to Alonso like that, and then therefore that wouldn't have happened. But hey-o.
That's the way it goes sometimes. So a flurry of pit stops now, and these will be the 2 stoppers. That's Kimminen exiting the pits ahead of Lee, and there was a Pedersen and Sam Bird in there as well. Magnussen also making a pit stop, and no pit stop yet from Alonso, so he's stretching it out. Sainz versus...
Watch out.
Careful into Mandarin Bend, but they're nice and compliant through that corner. It's this corner that's the problem, but now the Kimminen Climax power showing itself against a Megatron, which is probably not running much ERS.
Yes, I think Kimminen's on a 2-stop because he pitted a bit later and he took on more fuel. He jumped Cooper Lee in the pit stops, in case you hadn't noticed. He was behind Lee going into that, and he's now ahead of him.
Ah, well spotted.
And he's got a GRM in between. As we're seeing Da Costa, he's smashed out of the race.
Oh no, Da Costa. Well, that's...
There goes his goodbye.
Yep, temporary goodbye from FF1M. He may yet get a test driver role for another team soon, but first crash in the infield that we've seen, and I've no idea what corner that was. Maybe Payol corner, which is like bang in the middle. That's the Melco hairpin we're going through, on board with Perez, and now behind 2 Finns, Raikkonen and Bottas, 17th and 18th.
Well, Checo really has nothing to lose now. He's got to go full on balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall up the inside of
just as long as there's not as long as ideally it's not tyres to the wall.
And a little bit of smoke from Bottas at the exit, but that is okay for now as Alonso comes into the pits from the race lead.
Indeed. I you know what, from a neutral perspective, I would like Alonso to win this race. From the basis that he lost out in the last one. I know it's odd me saying that, considering he was like on the inside of Checo, but I just, and
it would make a nice end for Alonso to what's been a fairly decent season for Exelite, actually. They did have a rough patch at the beginning, but that was mostly engine related rather than any sort of inattentiveness. So, yeah. it's been okay for X-Lite this season as he rejoined behind Magnussen. Actually, hang on a second, as Magnussen has jumped Alonso.
Magnussen, hang on a minute.
Yes, yeah, Alonso has just been jumped by Kevin Magnussen in the pit stops. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Well, we completely glossed over that. As Checo makes his first scheduled pit stop, but it's all going to be in vain, I think. Nothing much else to say on that one, but Magnussen, he's come out of nowhere, and one could argue he's in a net lead here, assuming he's on a 2-stop, and we know Hamilton's on a 3-stop, but Hamilton's got clear air now, and he could just go for it, and as we've seen already, overtaking is quite open here, despite the narrow sections.
Yeah, only really 1 or 2 places to overtake, this being one of them, and then the other into Lisboa Bend, the braking zone, where in real life we saw Sophia Flörsch have that horrifying accident and just smashing into that photography scaffolding area.
Yeah, she was lucky to get out of that alive, I would say.
Yeah, and in fact she's still racing as well. Very gutsy as Perez up the inside of Bryant. Contact between the two, but that's one way to gain a position.
Well, I'm just glad he's got past. Really, I don't really care at this point if he puts into the wall to have to get up the field. You know, I'm past that point now.
As he moved up into 19th place, but having made 2 pit stops, and who we're looking at here, this is
Sam Bird,
the Birdman in 6th place, going through, what corner is it going through? And it's difficult to memorise the middle of the Macau circuit.
He's made a mistake. He's made a twitch, and he's damaged his front wing. Damaged
front wing for Bird as he goes through, I think that was exiting the Solitude S's. That now he's going to hold up Ricciardo and Grosjean. And
I knew he was going to make a sizable error there as Lewis pits, but from the race lead, his second pit stop, half distance, I knew that Bird was going to make a mistake then, because there's a certain twitch the AI make, like a corner before they're about to go off, and I noticed that, and I was like, yeah, he's going to go in the wall. The question then was about, well, what damage is he going to do, if any?
It's like the car bottoms out.
Yeah, that as well.
And rejoining from his pit stop with Cooper Lee for company, so Hamilton rejoining in 4th place. And how far back is Lee? He should be sufficiently ahead, but that moves Kevin Magnussen into the lead of the race.
That's very handy for Hamilton. He's rejoined ahead of his teammate. I'm surprised how far back Cooper Lee has dropped from Kinnunen. I mean, Kinnunen was behind Lee going into the first round of stops, and not only did he drop behind, but also there's a large gap now between those two, over 10 seconds.
Could be that Cooper Lee went for a more qualifying based setup, because he did qualify quite well in 5th place, but having dropped behind Kinnunen could be struggling with his balance in the race.
And Hamilton's caught up here. We've skipped forward 6 more laps, and he's hassling the second Tornado of Kinnunen.
That's the battle for the final podium slot.
I don't think he'll be too... I shouldn't say this about my driver, but on this occasion, I don't think he'll be too difficult to pass. The Mitchell, clearly, like it has been all season, is very well suited to these more technical circuits.
Although it's quite difficult to get good traction out of the Melco hairpins, that's why Kimmernen's pulled out a bit of a gap. And they're both catching up to Fernando Alonso for 2nd place. It could be a 3-way battle soon. Lee is into the pits at the end of this lap. You can see Hamilton's head-up display that pit indicator red means that your teammate's coming in.
Yes, indeed.
And Bird's mistake, by the way, dropped him way, way down the order, down to 21st place. So very, very costly for Sam Bird, who doesn't have a drive next season, but
that win in Malaysia obviously came too little too late, because obviously all the drivers for next season were already decided, and if he had won that race before that got decided, then who knows, he might have still had a drive for next season. maybe with like an AJ or someone.
Potentially, yes. It's a very bumpy corner, though, and that's going through Pyol, and then into Police Bend, a tight right, and then even tighter right of Moorish Hill, and then the final sector coming up.
Yeah, just looking at how quickly the Mitchell closed up in that first sector was quite alarming.
But there is Alonso right in front, and let's see the traction again. Good traction for Kinnunen coming out of Melco. And can I just say as well, what a great job the modders did to make this circuit. The buildings, the very, very great detail there.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew that was Kinnunen pits anyway. There was a layout of Macau where that I found in an older junior category race, as Alonso's in as well. This could be interesting, where there were no surroundings whatsoever. It was just the tarmac track layout. There were no buildings or anything, so I'm glad to see that. And is Kinnunen, he's still behind. Thought he might have been close enough to sort of hold Alonso there, but obviously not.
Not quite. So Alonso, with another good X-Light pit stop, rejoins ahead of Väinö Kinnunen, maintains position ahead of Kinnunen. Yeah, that race that you're referring to would have been an FF1M Asia race, where it was just circuit. Magnussen into the pits. That was won by Cristobal Alvarez, and he actually took out Max Verstappen on the first lap, first corner.
Was it like Silverstone real life 2021 style? Like it was a case of you don't put one up the inside of cops.
I think it was just a little tap on the back put Max into the barriers at Lisboa. As Magnussen exits the pits, and can he still rejoin ahead of Alonso? Yes.
Alonso is going to have the momentum here, but I don't think he's close enough to buy the breaking point. And plus, also, they're going to the end now, and Magnussen's going to be on fresher tyres. So I think really, unless something happens dramatically, Alonso make a mistake. Is he going to go off here? Yes, he does. He's made an error. Alonso has lost his front wing, I think, at least part of it, and he's going to have to stop again. That will elevate Kinnunen up into the podium position.
It'll hold up Kinnunen for a bit, but Kinnunen's got past there, so that's a silly mistake there from Alonso, probably trying to push hard to stay with Magnussen, but yeah, this might drop him out of the points, and he's still going to have to wait for his 1,000th point.
Yeah, incredible. Checo's still way down in 16th. I don't even know why I'm bringing it up, but I think even if Hamilton was to crash or blow up now, it's over. Yeah, it was over on lap 3 or 4, whenever it was.
All but confirming Mitchell's first ever championship. He's been in FF1M since the 2003 season, and a few classic ones, but never a championship. So a long time coming for Mitchell.
You know what? There's a part of me now which is like kind of just wants Hamilton to win this race just to make me feel less bad, in the sense that, well, there was it made me feel like there was nothing really extra we could do, or I could do, to set the car up better, except maybe turn up the ERS. I think I went a bit too conservative there. But I think even if I used the full amount and I risked the reliability, I don't think it would have been enough performance. I think there's soft tyres, and clearly the Mitchell we know is well suited to these sort of circuits. I don't think even that would have been enough.
And making his final pit stop with just 11 laps to go is Lewis Hamilton, 6.2 seconds, and Kevin Magnussen takes the lead of the race, but Hamilton on fresher tyres rejoins in second ahead of Väinö Kinnunen. So can Lewis Hamilton catch up to Magnussen and win the Macau Grand Prix, and therefore round off the championship in style? We've got 11 more laps to find out.
As we ride back on board with Checo, who is in 15th, chasing down what should be Sebastian Vettel for 14th. Coming in from a long way back. Going inside, this looks a bit optimistic. And, well, you know what? If only that happened on the at the start. If only Checo was that fortunate at the start with the damage, and when he was battling Alonso. If only, but it's too late now. Doesn't mean much, except for Vettel's rear end, and that's his final race for. There's gonna be another collision here.
Oh, and somehow both getting away with it.
Bottas on Hulkenberg. Somehow they both survived that. As we go back on board with Hamilton, it's only lap 42, getting on to 43. This is probably AJ just teasing us, but or is it Magnussen getting through traffic? I think. Yeah,
just in the getting through traffic, passing one of the willows, and we'll keep an eye out the gap. And I think Hamilton just Alonso
has blown up.
Well, that sums that up for Exolite.
I hate to bang on about it, but if that happened quite a lot earlier, then would have been a bit more interesting.
Out of the race goes Alonso, joining Sebastian Vettel. There was never actually contact before Vettel smashed into the wall at Lisboa. It was just the impact with Perez that ripped off both the rear wheels, and somehow Perez getting away with no front wing damage on that occasion. But yeah, Vettel's last race was shake and bake, going out with literally a bang.
Yep, going out in style. I mean, he wasn't going to score points anyway, so I'm sure Courtney will. Other people can definitely relate.
That's Bird versus Van Dorn getting together at Lisboa, but both continuing with no damage.
And I thank those two for doing that just now. A very polite way to let Kimmonen through, who was coming up to the back of them. But I don't think it's going to matter much if Kimmonen's a lonely third here.
Absolutely. So Kimmonen at the moment third behind these two, who are beginning to close up to each other once again. It's going to be 4 laps to go after this one. Magnussen leads by 1.7 seconds going through the final curve R bend. I'm just trying to look at the battle between Exolite Andrew and Pedersen, and it looks like it will go the way of Andrew, with Ricciardo 1 point ahead of Rosberg in the race. Grosjean's fifth not doing enough to overhaul Exolite.
Yeah, absolutely. The Alonso's race going down the pan has definitely ruled Exolite out of any chance of getting that 4th place. It should. I mean, they're tied on points, aren't they, Andrew and Pedersen? So I haven't really been looking at those two. But if Rosberg is catching Ricciardo, obviously if he gets past, then that would give Pedersen the 4th place.
Absolutely, yeah, and they're only separated by 2.3 seconds as well.
They were tied on points going into this race. I remember Michael Pedersen was getting a bit antsy about being classified below Andrew, and I think he also thought that Bahrain was the final race and completely forgot there was one more.
And as for Andrew, he nearly sacked Acosta on the spot after what he did in Bahrain as well.
Yeah, well, not well. I would have been surprised, but not surprised, because we know Andrew has a soft spot for Tony Coast.
Yeah, and maybe he'll remain as a test driver as Ricciardo and Verne become teammates next season with Mr. Pryor's outfit.
I think it's fair to say that although the Gojira has been, not a great car. Sorry, Guy, no offence, but it hasn't been a great car this year. I think Verne has done a solid job to fend off James Clark from usurping him. I think when Kubica basically got dropped, it would have put a lot of pressure on Jev to stay ahead in that battle. And I think Andrew next season they should have 2 cars instead of just the one that should score consistent points, barring of course pre-season goes well enough and they have a good enough car, obviously.
Absolutely, and both drivers previous FF1M race winners, of course, with Ricciardo having won the Japanese Grand Prix earlier this season and Vern winning 2 races for yourself in 2013.
Yeah, that Hockenheim 2013 race was, I think, my favourite FF1M race ever, to be honest. It's just how it came down to the wire in that one final lap.
Yeah, great battle between Perez and Vern in the end for the lead and decided on the final lap. And a battle for fourth getting quite interesting now. Lee and Grosjean separated by less than a second, so we could be having a battle between those two in the final couple of laps. And Hamilton 0.3 quicker than Magnussen in the middle sector. Interestingly, Magnussen was quicker than Hamilton on that last lap, but Hamilton responding.
This is going to be close. This is going down to the. I mean, if Hamilton can get close enough to make the most of the slipstream on the section of the track we're looking at now, and make the most also of the. So if he can utilise the technical sections, because we know that's where the Mitchell's the strongest at, and then get close enough on the back of Magnussen for the longer straights, then he's got a really good chance of wrapping this up in the best possible way.
Oh, do you know what I've just spotted actually? Magnussen, if he wins and Perez doesn't score, then Magnussen will actually jump Perez in the Drivers' Championship for second.
Oh my God, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, they're only separated by 10 points and 12 for a win, of course.
Oh, that just rubs salt in the wounds. End up going into a championship finale where it's 2 of you, and then you end up coming third.
Yeah, I tried to cheer you up earlier. I think I've just ruined that for you.
Yeah, slightly. It was already, to be honest, it was already ruined at the beginning. I'm just licking the wounds right now without needing any more salt to be rubbed into them.
So we're nearing the final lap now. That's through the tight Melco hairpin. It's a nice view, actually, of when cars go through such a tight corner like that. I think the shot at Monaco, the Lowe's hairpin, that's iconic, like seeing the top of Mirabeau through Lowe's and then into the first Portier.
Yeah. I must admit, actually, Hamilton hasn't really caught up to Magnussen as much as I thought. And he's going to go wider, is he? Hey, look.
Pushing hard is Hamilton.
Yeah, he lost time on that lap, and I think, you know what, with that, unless Magnussen himself makes a mistake, has got this. And fair play to Magnussen. I mean, he's certainly most of the race he's been quiet. He sneakily undercut, or was it over? Anyway, he got past Alonso through the pit stops, which went amiss to us. And he's looking like he's held off the challenge from the free-stopping Hamilton. So fair play.
Yeah, as he goes through maternity bend, you'll be seeing me in a maternity ward at the beginning of June, as then he runs Teddy Yipcorn and the Solitude S's, where we've seen a few drivers make mistakes, such as Billy, who was the first retirement of the race. That's Tony Coast, or Antonio Felix da Costa, or Costa Lot of Coffee. He's had a lot of nicknames this season as Antonio, and then Alonso and Bird making mistakes at the Solitude S's as well, but going through Moorish Hill into the Donna Maria hairpin, and I don't think Hamilton can do it.
Well, I mean, it's not the end of the world at all for him. I mean, he's 99.99% of the way on to his 4th championship with his 3rd different team, and you got to give credit where it's due. I mean, a lot of people will say he should have wrapped it up way sooner, but wasn't really his fault with the reliability of recent races. But yeah, I'll let you round this one off.
Well, going through the final corner, the top 2, and rounding off a great season for himself, Kevin Magnussen wins at Macau, but Lewis Hamilton becomes the first ever 4-time FF1M champion. Did it twice with Shake and Bake in 2009 and 2010, then with Tornado 2012, now with Mitchell in 2016. That is an achievement there for Hamilton.
Yeah, indeed it is. Just congratulations. That's what I can say. I mean, I'm not really gutted that Checo lost the championship. I'm more sort of gutted the way he lost it, like so early on. I really wanted it to go as deep into the race as possible. But that's motor racing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the gap just 7/10 of a second in the end. Well, 8/10 if you round up, between Magnussen and Hamilton.
Something I've spotted is Ricciardo has fended off Rosberg, but look at how close it got within a second, and that's what's made the difference in that battle for fourth in the championship.
Which goes the way of Andrew Racing, so that was pure consistency that's got them that, because Ricciardo's had a very, very good consistent season.
Yeah, indeed. He's been one of, I think, for me, a contender for driver of the season.
Yes. Contender along with possibly Magnussen. They did make a few mistakes. Maybe Hamilton, maybe Perez as well.
And sadly, Meister round off their short FF1M career with no points in the final race.
Absolutely. So, that's the Drivers' Championship. It's actually Hamilton on 109 points in the end, that 109 giving him his fourth championship. Magnussen second in the championship, 98 points, with Perez on 96. It was a good effort from him, and Gonzalez hanging on to fourth despite his absence in the final few races. He'll be back next season with Exolite alongside Kimi Raikkonen. So Tornado finishing on 196 points in the end, with Mitchell second, FJR third, and Andrew on 71 points, one ahead of Pedersen.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for another season, and big thanks to AJ for making it happen. Biggest kudos to him, and look forward to next season.
Absolutely, and the next season will of course be 2017. Maybe a classic season in between those, but we'll stay tuned for those. And yeah, as for me as well, thank you to AJ for hosting this series, and thank you to all the teams as well for taking part. So, from myself and from Mr. Tobias Wolff, we shall see you for the next season.